Today I want to give you my first impressions on the BMPCC 6K G2. I recently got my hands on this camera to try out, and I gotta say it was such a joy to use. Now back in 2020, I had started out on the original Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, and I absolutely loved that camera, but as I kind of started progressing, I just wanted something that offered a little bit more, like autofocus and a higher dynamic range. So after a year, I had switched over to my Sony FX3, and the FX3 is amazing, but I had always still wanted to try out some variation of the Pocket 6Ks, and recently with the new Pocket 6K G2, they addressed some of the things that I felt were missing out of the cameras, so I'm really hyped on that. So first off, the size of the camera. This is the biggest camera I've ever shot with, and personally I wasn't too bothered by it just because it does come with the better benefits of one, having a larger battery, and two, having this tiltable LCD screen, which those are two of the things that I had kind of wanted from my original Pocket 4K, so both of these are solid improvements. So first off with the battery, I believe I got maybe around an hour and a half of usage out of it, but I will say I had the LCD brightness set to 40%, and I was also turning the camera on and off in between takes when I would set up shots just to conserve battery. So realistically, if you are putting this through heavy usage, you'll probably still get maybe a little over an hour, but not too much. So while it's not necessarily the biggest leap in improvement in terms of battery life, personally I wouldn't mind taking like maybe 4 or 5 batteries of this and then my external battery pack for a full day shoot. And next off is the tiltable LCD screen. So one reason I really wanted to have a tiltable or articulating LCD screen is just because I'm not personally the biggest fan of using external monitors, especially on solo projects or just taking the camera out to shoot for fun, just because it makes the camera larger, and in public places it just makes you a little bit less conspicuous. So, and coming from my FX3, it's just much easier to see all the details in your shot as opposed to looking at the small FX3 screen. And this did not come to my surprise, but the image quality coming out of the 6K G2 is amazing just because of the organic image quality that you get out of Blackmagic cameras, and that is something that they have always done so well. It's just such a pleasing image to look at. And now for a couple things I didn't quite like so much. And this is kind of nitpicky, but it still is some things that I didn't like when first trying it out. First off, this camera is extremely front heavy. So basically when you set the camera down, it's gonna lean on the lens unless you have rails mounted underneath it or say a Ronin plate, something to kind of hold it. I don't like putting stress on the lens and also the mount. So, and the other thing I wasn't quite the biggest fan of was the covers for all of the ports, but I do wish that they maybe upgraded to like a flip out port like my FX3, just because these, when you kind of take them out, they're still kind of in the way. So again, not the biggest issue. On my 4K, I actually just took out all the covers, but this is a loaner, so I'm just gonna leave that alone. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my first impressions. Overall, it was such a fun camera and I can't wait to take it out again and just shoot some more videos just for fun. And I definitely will be making more in-depth videos on stuff like B-RAW as well as a full review. But if there's any topics specifically that you would want covered on this camera, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. And I just want to say a huge thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.